Beautiful, beloved people. Coming out here, Tanika Maria. I'll give people a few moments to come on. All about helping you get real, be healed, and move forward, and emotional wholeness, peace, and clarity. Good to see you. Good to see you. I'm going to dive right into my topic on today. And so I hope that this blesses you. For those of you that are new, that are joining, again, my name is Tanika Maria. I'm all about helping you get real, be healed, and move forward in emotional wholeness, peace, and clarity. As I go on the journey myself, I bring people with me. And so on today. And if you're here, let me know in the chat. I'd love for you to drop a line in the chat and say hello and let me know that you're here so that I can see you and see the faces. So blessings to you all. I hope you're blessed on this Thursday afternoon. At any rate, there's nothing wrong with you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. And if you've been in a situation in 2020 where you are sad and you are disappointed, you have some disappointed expectations. Some things happened in a relationship, in a situation with a particular person, and now you're disappointed. Right? How many of you know that feeling? Sometimes we're disappointed, not so much as for the reality of what it was, but our disappointment lies in what we wanted it to be, because if it was really what it was supposed to be, it would have you'd still be in it, right? The situation would still exist. And so we have these disappointments. And then when it comes to relationships, sometimes when things end or situations end, it could be any relationship dynamic, not just necessarily romantic. It could be business. It could be ministry. It could be friendships. It could be anything that there's a degree of disappointment there. There's some lost hope there. There's a diminished expectation there. There's nothing wrong with you. Because see, a lot of times we'll start to personalize and we'll start to internalize what happened in that situation. And we begin to think, okay, what's wrong? What did I do wrong? And so there's a healthy dose of that where you need to definitely see, okay, what was my role in this situation? But at some point, you're going to have to take a step back. At some point, you need to realize there's nothing wrong with you. And see, this can get really, really touchy if you've been in any way insecure, you've suffered from any level of a root of abandonment, rejection, betrayal, you've been hurt and you've been burnt before. And then when something goes down again, those old familiar feelings come back and you begin to think, okay, is something wrong with me? Why am I going through this again? Check out my previous video that I did about 22 days left into 2020 and about our patterns and triggers. So you could have some of that going on. But in this moment, when it comes to your personal wholeness, your worthiness, your esteem, in terms of you as a person, there is nothing wrong with you. And so you don't want to just continually be ruminating on, these are the things that we do. And I wrote this down right here. We sit here and we pontificate and we think, okay, what could I done differently in order to please this person? Or how could I have changed? Or what did I not do? How could I have done better? What was the mistake I made? There's a part where you do that. There is a healthy way to do that. But you know you're doing it in an unhealthy way when you start diminishing yourself. You're doing it in an unhealthy way when you're just spinning and you're creating the suffering. Blessings to you. Hey there, Mimi. Good to see you. Blessings to you from California. Good to see you. So you're asking yourself, okay, what could have been done differently in terms of pleasing or changing myself? And see, there are some people, let me tell you, that if that situation was toxic, and if that dynamic was not something that was God's best for you, and you're in a situation where you felt like you could have done something differently, or some people, nothing you would have ever done would be good enough for them. And you would have been striving and struggling on that hamster wheel, trying to prove, trying to show, trying to be perfect, trying to get their approval, trying to make them see you and like you and love you. And in some situations, there's nothing wrong with you. But because of that dynamic, it'll have you thinking that something's wrong with you when in reality, it's not you, it's them. Sometimes in certain dynamics and in certain situations, it's not you, it's them. But you do have to own your own responsibility and your own role. And no, yes, you have your flaws, and yes, you've not been perfect. But there's some situations you're not to be beating yourself up and engaging in self-inflicted suffering by your own thinking about that situation. There's nothing wrong with you. And so don't you make an idol out of the disappointment by trying to figure out what did you do wrong so bad. Don't get stuck in that spot. I know I've gotten there. Here's another sign that you're still in the pattern or in the dynamic, especially if something has ended, especially if you've had a diminished disappointment, a diminished hope, a diminished expectation in 2020 in different relational situations. And this is not necessarily romantic. This could be anything, but you still want their approval. You're still in that place of regret. You still want them to have a degree of, you want them to still approve you and kind of see from afar and want that kind of check, like they notice, right? If that's still there, you're still in the dynamic. You still have to let God cleanse that out. You have to let that go. If there's any subconscious desire in you for something that's ended, a situation, a relational dynamic where you're still trying to please them, you're subconsciously performing. And how does this manifest? On social media. This is what you see in breakups. Oh, this is what you see when people disconnect and they can still watch each other, semi-stalk each other. And you see a lot of this unfolding. You're still trying to perform. You're still trying to impress. If you're in that place where you're still subconsciously auditioning, you're still in that place where you're subconsciously trying to impress somebody, and they've already clearly demonstrated that they are not interested. If they've already clearly demonstrated that the feeling is not mutual, if they have clearly, quote, rejected you on some level, but you're subconsciously still auditioning, gotta let that go. There's nothing wrong with you, but if you continue to engage in that, that's very unhealthy, and that's going to be toxic for you. We're always when you're in that cycle of trying to be chosen. This is true for romantic relationships, but if you're in that cycle of trying to be chosen, you're in that cycle of trying to be seen, you're in that cycle of trying to be noticed, and you're auditioning for love, you're not ready for real love. You're not ready for real love when it shows up, because that's a manifestation of I'm still proving. I'm still wanting you. Do you see me? Am I lovable? Am I worthy of love? And those are soul questions. Those are soul questions that you don't need to be taken outside of yourself. That has to be handled between you and God. And so if you're still auditioning for love and trying to be chosen, and you're doing it in a subconscious, subliminal type way, we have to stop that. We're still stuck in a pattern. We're still in the unworthy energy, that unworthy spirit, right? If you're doing anything, there's anything in you that's unworthy and that's rooted in there, it's going to cause you to chase and audition and try to be chosen, to be seen and to be loved. And so basically the crux of this is there is nothing wrong with you. You don't have to audition. You don't have to figure out what's wrong with you, why this went down the way it did, and why this happened and why that. Stop looking for approval from those that reject you, from people that are not suitable for you, and begin to focus on the ones that do love you. Focus on the ones that do see you. Focus on the ones that do get you. Therein lies your focus. Make space in your head, make space in your heart for the real ones, to allow them to show up. But if your head space and your heart space is taken up with all of the thoughts and the memories and the feelings and the dash disappointments and what you wanted it to be, and you're still trying to audition and prove subconsciously to them that you got what it takes, then you're not ready, and you don't have space in your heart for real love. You're not ready, and you don't have space in your mind for what that new love is going to take, because we're still enmeshed in that old dynamic of what happened in the past. So don't chase, don't audition subconsciously. Don't try to get their approval subconsciously on the down low. Release that. There's nothing wrong with you. Don't make an idol out of that disappointment. Focus on the ones that will appreciate you, that do love you, that will make space for you, and that are consistent and that are genuine. That's where your focus should be. And know that you did nothing wrong. You're not perfect. But I'm here to tell somebody there's nothing wrong with you. Let me rephrase that. There's nothing wrong with you as a human. You made mistakes in it, but there's nothing inherently wrong with you. You are indeed worthy of love. You are worthy to be seen, and you are valuable. And if the other person couldn't appreciate or fully grasp that, don't waste your time. Do not waste your time auditioning, trying to be chosen, and trying to prove. That is a waste of your energy. Don't waste your energy with someone that doesn't have the capacity to see you or the capacity to love you. Ask God to make space in your heart and to heal your heart so that you have space for the ones that will appreciate you. And you don't need to chase for validation and approval, because what happens is that person and their approval and their voice becomes an idol for you. When you get to the point where you're auditioning for love, where you're auditioning to be chosen, where you're subliminally trying to get their approval, you're subliminally wanting them to notice you and see you and approve of you, you've made an idol out of it. You've made an idol. And the thing about it is, let me give some real quick symptoms and then I'm going to wrap this up. But this is kind of general, and I'm looking over here at the laptop notes over here. But when you make any type of desire or longing or the opinion of man bigger than God, when your desires and longings of the heart become so big that they supersede God, then you're going to put your heart in a very precarious situation. This is the desire for a relationship with a certain person. This could be any strong desire and strong longing that's bigger and that carries more weight. When the voice of that desire and the voice of that longing and the voice of that person supersedes God's voice in your life, that thing is an idol for you. Anytime when that person or that situation, when they're not pleased with you, you could be in bondage. You could be in a cycle of defeat. And when you finally get that idol, you strive for it, you chase for it, you've auditioned for it, you prove for it, you try to get their affection and their attention. And then when you get it, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Then you have that disappointment. This is why God has to be first in our heart. And see, sometimes when we've elevated people and relationships and situations higher than God, we've created unsustainable situations that can't be maintained, because that idol may never be satisfied with you. That idol may never feel like you're good enough. You're going to always be on the hamster wheel of trying to prove that you're worthy. You'll always be on that perpetual hamster wheel trying to chase for love. And the minute you fall short, the minute you do something wrong, now you're feeling bad, and now that person is not pleased. Never make another human and make a desire for a certain situation greater than God. You guys are quiet on today. My name is Tanika Maria, for those of you that may be just joining or that will catch the replay. And I'm all about helping you get real, be healed, and move forward in emotional wholeness, peace, and clarity. And I wanted to come out here real quick and just share these nuggets on that nothing's wrong with you, but we don't want to make an idol out of what happened. We don't want to make an idol out of that person or that situation. And so again, when the opinions of man and the opinions of certain people reign bigger than God, then you're going to be at the whim and fancy of other people. Your emotions are going to be on that roller coaster of up and down, whether or not you get their approval or not. And that's a dangerous place to live, walking on eggshells, your emotions on yo-yo. Not healthy, not healthy. It's just diminishing. It damages your sense of worthiness. It damages your sense of self-esteem and the worth that God gave you when he paid the price for you. Christ paid the price for your wholeness. Christ paid the price for your peace. And so if you're allowing someone's emotions and someone's approval, if you're in a relationship that's unhealthy and that man's approval and whether or not you did something wrong got you up and down and in a yo-yo, that's unhealthy, right? That's not of God, and that's diminishing. That's very diminishing. You put yourself in a position to be controlled and manipulated. So this opens the door to narcissistic relationships when we're like that, when we can make someone's approval an idol, when we're constantly auditioning and chasing to be seen and approved and to be chosen. Now you can be controlled. Now it's easy to be controlled. It's easy to be manipulated. Now the enemy of our soul can come in and he can step into that situation because now we've opened the door. Now we created a space for it. This is how things happen. This is how our souls get messed up. This is what goes on. Any situation where you're beginning to think something's wrong. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? I want them to love me. I need their approval, and blah, blah, blah. You've opened the door. There's a healthy sense of that, and then there's a toxic sense. And we got to be able to determine that. But if you are listening to me and you are willingly subjecting yourself to a situation and you know in your heart of hearts that this thing is not right and you got that anxious feeling in your stomach and you're always in knots and you're yo-yo up and down in your emotion and just that generalized anxiety feeling, that is your clue. That is your warning system that something is off in this situation. There's nothing wrong with you in your worthiness and who you are as a child of God. And you don't need to be chasing and creating this idol out of this situation. And so I just wanted to share these things. I have more to share, but I don't want to belabor the time. But I just wanted to share these things for those of you who've been in a cycle, who've been in a dynamic where you're questioning yourself, where you're questioning, what did I do wrong and what's wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you, but I do want you to check your heart. I do want you to look at this thing. Did I make this relationship? Did I make this person an idol? Am I trying to audition for love? Am I trying to be chosen? Am I trying to get their approval and acceptance? And they've made it very clear that they haven't accepted me. I'm glad this is blessing you. Thank you, Mimi. Thank you for the super heart. Blessings to you, woman of God. Blessings to you. Because you are worthy. You are worthy of love. Your worth was established the minute you entered the planet. Excuse me. Your worthiness to be loved, to have affection, to be respected and appreciated was already established the moment you were born. And no human can take that away from you. And if you're in that mindset where you're chasing and auditioning for love, hey there, Michael, then that's an unhealthy dynamic. And I'll share this and then I'll head on out. I put this out on Instagram, so definitely encourage you guys to follow me on Instagram if you're not doing so at Get Real Be Healed. But I gave symptoms and signs on a post in Instagram of where this is how you know that desires and longings and people's opinions mean more to you than God's opinion. Here's some signs real quick. If you're fishing for compliments, wanting to be noticed and seen and given that stamp of approval, you've seen people that, they're always fishing for compliments. That's a sign. If we're number 2, doing good things for other people in order to be seen and approved. So the motive, you can do good, but if the motive is to be seen and to be approved, then it's an impure motive, right? So that's another way that something else is bigger in your heart than God. It's something else that's driving it. So that's sign number 2. Number 3, here's a big one. Putting stuff out on social media for mass approval and likes and loves and using it as a form of validation, therapy, and self-seeking. Let me say that again. Putting stuff out on social media for mass approval and likes and using it as a form of validation, therapy, and self-seeking. To feel popular and to feel liked about self. You see, now that's a big one because you see quite a bit of that. You see quite a bit of that. Hey, Coach Steady, good to see you, man of God. Haven't seen you in a long time. Blessings to you. Good to see you. So this is a sign. So let me repeat this sign again. A sign that people, longings, desires of the heart supersede and is an idol above God. This one about social media is huge. It's the one, I just lost my spot. Putting stuff out on social media for mass approval, likes, using it as a form of therapy, self-seeking, validation to feel popular and liked and good about yourself. And if you haven't shared this out real quick, definitely share. And see, social media content barely has a 6 hour. It's probably dropped even from then, but barely hangs on in terms of likes and popularity past 6 hours, right? And you can tell the ones that are the most insecure. If I see a young lady that's posting a whole bunch of selfies, that's not an indication of positive self-esteem. It's actually an indication of insecurity. It's actually an indication of a lower level of self-esteem, especially if it's coming from a low place. So the idol of attention, the idol of wanting to be seen, that is a sign, right? That's ruling in our hearts higher than God. Another sign that your desires and longings of the heart and the opinion of man and the opinion of certain people is greater than God is you would rather sin in a situation than to risk being rejected by a particular person. Let me say that again. You would risk sinning than to be rejected by a certain person. That's a very clear sign. That is a huge, huge sign, right? That's an idol. Because you'd rather straight up sin than for that person to leave you alone. That's, oh gosh. Another one, and I've talked about this before, always worried about what they think, right? I'm always worried about what they think. If what they think is more important to you than what God thinks, then they and their opinion are an idol. And what does it say in Jeremiah 1:8? When God was talking to the prophet Jeremiah and giving him the call to be a prophet and calling him into his destiny, he said, "Look not at their faces." If I'm looking at their faces, I'm paying more attention to what they're saying. I'm not paying attention to God. God says, "Look not at their faces." Especially, you got a calling on your life, and God is calling you to do stuff, and you're worried about what they think. Last time I checked, they do not pay my Duke Energy power bill here in North Carolina. Last time I checked, they do not have a hell or a heaven to put you in. When the opinion of they supersedes God's opinion, that has become an idol. Anytime you want to be noticed more than you want to be godly, that's another sign. Anytime we want to be noticed more than we want to be godly. I want the desire of my heart to be godly and to serve God greater than any desire to be noticed. That means I come out here and keep on talking when it's zero, right? Because I'm going to do my assignment. I have to be consistent. I haven't been consistent, right? So do I care about the opinion of man? I care. I want people to hear. I want the ones that are assigned to my voice that God has given for me to hear me. But at the same time, I can't let that supersede what God says. Does this make sense? Another sign that the opinion of man and what they think or other desires and longings of the heart or the opinion and the perceived rejection of a particular person is greater than God's voice is if you're overly sensitive to criticism, or overly sensitive to correction, and overly sensitive to reproof. I have been that way. Am I the only one? Come on. If you're very super sensitive to correction, super sensitive to reproof, that's a sign, right? Another sign that people don't think about is you prematurely, and maybe you guys need to come back and catch the top of this because I'm giving a lot of meaty content right now, prematurely ending conflict. You'd rather go silent or withdraw than to face a situation. Instead of facing it head on and dealing with it, go quiet or withdraw or yield or change the subject. Because if something's not an idol and you're willing to stand your ground, you're willing to show up and be authentic, and you're willing to state your truth. You don't have to be loud and dramatic, but you're going to say what you need to say, right? But if that person's opinion and that thing is so great and you don't want to lose it, you'll do anything. You won't say anything. You'll back off. You'll withdraw. You'll avoid dealing with it. And there's a big old pink elephant in the room. But instead of dealing with it, You rather just not say anything than to risk having to have a conflict with them. And in the meantime, your resentment is building, your stomach is in knots, you know this thing is toxic and you're hurting and you're feeling some kind of way, but that idol is greater. Their opinion is bigger than God. That's a sign. And beloved, my beloved people, this is not freedom. God did not choose for us to live like this. This is not God's best for us. You are accepted in the beloved. You are accepted in the beloved. God sees you, and you don't have to live. You know, there's a completed work in Christ that's already been done, and our worship belongs to Him. Right? There's nothing wrong with you, but you have to look at, why am I chasing? Why am I auditioning to be chosen? Why am I willing to let the voice of the idol speak? What is it that I think is wrong with me that I can't be standing my true authenticity? I can't even get my words out, that I cannot stand in my true authenticity. Because the moment I deviate from who I am, the moment I let that delusion that comes into my spirit that says, that subconscious subliminal desire to be chosen, that subconscious subliminal desire, see me, notice me, love me, love me, love me. That's a clear indicator. That is a clear indicator that there's some God work to do, that I haven't fully sat in the completed work of Christ, that I haven't fully come into my wholeness, that I'm still looking outside of myself for that. And whenever I got to look outside of myself, I'm going to find me an idol. I'm going to idolize marriage. I'm going to idolize being in a relationship. I'm going to idolize having a big time hot shot ministry. And I'm going to let that be my delusion. And I'm going to distract myself from healing my heart and really getting rooted, grounded, fixed, and founded in the love of God, so that when He sends that my heart doesn't turn it into an idol. Y'all are quiet. Thank you, Coach Steady. Thank you, Mimi. Y'all are listening so hard. Every time I have scopes, people are listening. They don't even bother to type anything in the chat. But anyway, I know I said a lot. And this is kind of heavy. So I'm going to let you guys sit with it, because this is deep. It really runs deep, and it's dealing with the issues of the heart that keep us in the bondage, and it keeps us manifesting the same patterns. It keeps us in the same cycles and dilemmas and dynamics, and we wonder why. And so I hope this blessed you. Definitely, as you're coming in, or if you're new here, definitely follow me. Share this out. Follow me on Instagram so you can see the posts that I type all of this out on my post on Instagram. And definitely follow me on YouTube, because at some point I'll transition off of Periscope. Thank you, Coach Steady. Thank you. Thank you so much. And also, by way of an announcement, so those of you that have been listening to me, you know I got a year-end masterclass coming up. Year-end masterclass coming up on December 17th. We're gonna, we have a class coming up on December 17th at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Time. And we're going to be dealing with closing out this year with clarity, cutting off the ties, dealing with the disappointed expectations that we've had in 2020, all the trauma, all of the drama, and having that resiliency and poise and serenity, and feeling like, okay, all my incompletes, all my unfinished business, all of my baggage, all the toxic drama, the soul ties, what went down, what went happen, how my heart's feeling, all the different things that got me out of whack and got me in this certain place. And I'm hurting. And so I'm going to be teaching. It's going to be Ask Me Anything. I'm going to have Q&A there. And I'm going to be just really putting some things in your toolbox so that we can not relapse and have the same patterns that we did in 2020. Whatever pattern that you were in 2020, in the midst of all the trauma that has happened in the world with the pandemic, the racial unrest, the elections here in the United States, and all the different things that we've been enduring in our own personal life. And now I got my own. Do I want to keep going through my same patterns? Do I keep, every time I feel like God is taking me to another level, I'll self-sabotage back to my little comfort place I start getting scary because see, you can't fully embrace the new until you can really release that old. I'm so scared of the new because the new is going to require changes. And a lot of times new is scary, right? And so I'd rather go back to like my mentor Shannon says, I'd rather go to the devil I know than to get with the new, because new is going to require a different me. The new is scary. The new is change. And we keep saying new, 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 but I got to really let go of my old, right? So in this year-end masterclass, we're going to be doing strategies to kind of heal and cleanse and release some of the old in our thinking, because newness begins on the inside. I got to have new thoughts, new emotions, and new perceptions. From my thoughts come my emotions, and from my emotions come my perceptions. My perceptions is how I see the world. And if my perception is all filthy, if my perception is dirty because I got all these judgments and assumptions, and I've jumped to all these conclusions because I've been wounded, and I got all these delusions and idols and stuff going on, and I'm chasing and for love and opinions and trying to be chosen and get approval, and I'm looking at life through that lens, you won't be ready for the new. You register, the link is in my bio. The link is in my Periscope bio, and you can get in for any amount. So I haven't set a price on this. It's just so as you're led to do so. So there's no set price for this masterclass. It's just whatever your investment is, because my intention is to pour out as much as I can. I want to close up loose ends for 2020. In some cases, you're not going to be able to get, quote, the traditional closure that you need in some relationships, but we can make our own closure. You can make your own closure. And some of us, we haven't finished our grief work. Some of us, we haven't fully grieved those disappointments, those hurts, those losses, and the hits we took in 2020. And so we're kind of like living on the surface because we don't want to feel that pain. Well, at some point, you got to finish up that grief work, because you're going to keep cycling through the same patterns until you fully grieve out. You go ahead and cry, you fall out, you write your letters and don't send them. Do whatever you need to do to complete the grief work. And some of you guys have a lot of old unfinished grief, and that's why you're still running around in circles chasing delusions and trying to be seen and stuff. It's like, let me finish the grief work of my previous relationship, what happened with my mom, what happened over here in this ministry, what happened over there yonder. Finish that grief work. Finish it. How do you do that? We'll talk about that. We're going to be talking about that. Yes, Mimi. And complacency is tomorrow's captivity. I love that. Complacency is tomorrow's captivity. I hear you, lady. I hear you. So we don't have time to be complacent. We don't have the right to talk about, God bless me with this new big thing, but the minute it shows up, my heart is so wounded and so crushed, and I'm so full of the idols and the disappointments and my delusions and my distractions because I don't want to feel my pain. And the old stuff is so familiar to me. My old pain and my old story and what happened, at least I know what that is. But for me to really step out and do something new, for me to go write my book, for me to start my business, for me to go and be an evangelist like I know God called me to be or whatever, for me to like start teaching, for me to go back and get that degree. Oh, I got to do something new. And I'm not going to have time I'm not going to have the head space to sit around hashing out my old stories and being triggered up by those old memories and having flashbacks all day and sitting on the couch. Come on, and scrolling social media and scrolling my phone, looking at those old pictures. You can't do that. You can't. Mark 2:22. You can't bring new wine into old wineskins. So it's like, God, I need a new wineskin. I need new thoughts. I cannot afford to keep flashbacking to what happened. Lord, deliver me. Lord, deliver me. God, deliver me. Help me, Holy Spirit. That's what we're talking about. And so I said all that. I said all of that to invite you to my masterclass. And the link is in my bio. You can get in for any amount as your heart desires. There's no set price. December 17th, 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Get in. Don't wait to the last second. Please don't wait to the last second so I can get prepared. And I am already preparing. And I kind of want to keep it small because I want to be able to really be able to minister and speak to people. It'll be on a private Zoom. And so, we can have that time where it's just us and we'll be able to share. And this is, I forgot to say that, Coach Steady, it's for ladies only. So Coach said, if you know ladies in your network, in your Smart Love movement, definitely let them know to come in. But it is for my ladies only. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. I'm sorry. So this is for my sisters. This is for my sisters. So definitely, if this resonates with you, I highly encourage you to get on the list. I highly, highly encourage you. So that will be next Thursday, the 17th, 7 o'clock p.m. So blessings to you all. Thank you for being here. And again, if you have not shared this, please do share. And if you're not following me, follow me. Either follow me on here, but I encourage you to follow me on Instagram and also on YouTube as well under Tanika Maria. So blessings to you. You all have a lovely rest of your afternoon or evening or morning or wherever you are in the world. And take care. And I'll be back out here again soon. Take care.